Hey, good afternoon. For those that don't already know me, my name is Robert Newman. I am a inbound marketing and SEO expert that's located in California, and I focus specifically on real estate, so real estate SEO. For those of you who are familiar, I follow guys like Neil Patel and Brian Dean and others. And what I've done over the last 14 years is I've taken their knowledge and applied it directly to real estate. Today's video is going to be talking about, I'm going to title it SEO Cheat Sheet. And what the purpose of this particular video is to give you the conversational ability to talk to vendors who are trying to sell you SEO for real estate. I am not going to be giving you a tutorial on how to do SEO. I'm not going to be covering complicated technical things in this particular video. I'm going to be covering conversational elements that you could have with a vendor that's going to let you know if this vendor knows what they're talking about when it comes to SEO. I'm also going to be giving you some very quick rules to apply to like SEO in real estate. Okay, and what do I mean by that? I mean the vendors that actually you could do SEO on their websites easily and see results. There are plenty of vendors you could do SEO, and if you had somebody that was talented enough, they might be able to make a success out of it. But it wouldn't be easy. You'd have to get a bit lucky. And many of these vendors, you're going to see declining results over time because their websites themselves are not really built for the way that SEO is going. So it's really just a cheat sheet video for what vendors will this work on, and if you're going to talk to these vendors about SEO, what is it that they should be talking to you about that's going to let you know whether or not they are actually in touch with what is successful for search engine optimization in 2021. All right. So first and foremost, search engine optimization, let's start with the definition. Search engine optimization really says that, so here I am on a Google sheet, like a Google search bar, and it says that if I did something like a search, Rancho Cucamonga Realtor is a great place to start. How do you get on this page? That's search engine optimization. It's this huge category because, and it confuses people a lot. Because search engine optimization, when somebody's trying to sell you these services, and you guys get emails and text messages every single day from people supposedly selling you SEO. Okay, we'll get you to be top for local searches. We'll get you to the tops of the search engines. Okay, but there's tens of thousands of ways that a vendor can get you to be someplace where a search engine can find you. And whether or not that particular way is good for you as a realtor is always the question. And it's super confusing and super frustrating for real estate agents. So take, for example, the first section that I'm going to cover in the SEO cheat sheet video is hyperlocal search. Okay, what does that mean? God, it's so confusing. Hyperlocal is what Google is calling searches where people are doing them mostly on their cell phones, and they're taking a look at where that cell phone is located, and somebody is using a location such as a neighborhood name or realtor near me. And then what Google is doing is it's attaching it to a specific set of search results. In this case, this is referred to as a hyperlocal search packet. So one of the most popular scams that I see out there when it comes to SEO is somebody's going to say, oh, I'm going to get you found for like realtor searches right away. All right. All you got to do is give me $1,000 or $1,000 and $100 a month into perpetuity. And usually what they're doing is they're trying to get you in the local search pack. That's this. All right. They're claiming that they can get you here. Now here's a funky ass thing that they can do. They can get you anywhere, somewhere. So there's like going to be 50 or 100 of these or even more. Like there's 10 pages of these. So it's like 10, 15, maybe 20 results on this page. And what they're really saying is, oh, we can get you found somewhere in these 200. And if they're saying, oh, I can get you found in the top, That's a bald-faced lie. Why? Because with hyperlocal search, like this search, getting found here, the only way to get you into the top is a change that Google made 2 months ago with paid advertising. And it connects directly into what's called a Google My Business profile. I know I'm already probably losing a lot of you, but it's a tool that you can use to build a profile for your business. That's it, simple. And Google looks at the address and they try to say, are you getting any reviews on this profile? So here's my company profile, okay? And then if I click on this, it'll take me, it should take me. Hold on. So if I Google my own name, that's my business name. You can do edit profile. Okay, and now I can go in here and edit my profile, right? This is my Google My Business profile. A little bit confusing, which is why most of you are probably like confused. It's a little bit difficult to understand how to get into it, how to create it, how to edit it, so on and so forth. These things are all like this is why you oftentimes probably lean on guys like me to go ahead and edit this. Here's what you need to know. Like if you're going to talk to somebody about it, there aren't that many vendors that are doing a great job for real estate. Like Local EZ and White Spark would be two of the ones that I would mention to you. And if you're going to talk about any of the big vendors out there, such as Real Estate Webmasters or anybody else, they're really not going to work on this part of SEO. And it is SEO, this local stuff. We do work on it, but all we do is we go in and we advise our clients to get reviews. We show them how to attach them to their profile. I have an email with a link that sends reviews straight to my profile when I get them. And we advise our clients to collect their profiles on GMB, Google My Business. Why do we do that? Because really, when it comes down to it, Google is looking at two things. They're looking at your location, number one, when somebody's doing a search. So if I do a search like real estate marketing company, because I am located and I've used the word company, no, oh, so here we go. Real estate marketing agency is Los Angeles. Remember, it's based on location. So I'm doing Los Angeles. Interestingly enough, I'm number one. So you do real estate marketing company number one, Los Angeles, because Los Angeles is big. It's Los Angeles County. And I am number one. Actually, I'm number one in almost everything. And why am I number one in almost everything? Because I have the most reviews, the cleanest citations. Now, a citation is where somebody lists your address someplace. And what most realtors have done throughout the course of their career is oftentimes change their address many times. And they keep saying, I'm a realtor, but Google sees 9,000 addresses connected to your profile. And that's why somebody can't really promise you definitive results. Cleaning up your citations, where your business has been listed and where you're actually located, is an important part to get ranking in these local search packets. This is becoming a more and more important element for real estate agents. I've got 3 or 4 clients that are making lots of money just because they happen to be listed first or second in these hyperlocal search packets. And the way that we achieved it was just making sure that we had an address that was theirs, that was as close as possible to their preferred demographic. Like I have a client that's in Sugarland, Texas, and we just listed his mother's address as his primary business address. And then we built 30 citations, which is just, it's not complicated. Google uses this ridiculously complicated language, but it is just say, hey, a citation is when you list your business like in the white pages. That's a citation. How many places have you listed your business and how credible are those directories? And obviously the white pages, the yellow pages, those are all very credible directories. So is the Yahoo directory, and so is the AT&T directory. There's actually a very large number of directories maintained by major companies that you know of that are all very credible. And so what you can do is you list all those addresses, and then you tell the consumer client to build in reviews. And if they do that, most likely they're going to rank. I want you to notice that other marketing companies that are supposedly good at what they do don't have a tremendous amount of reviews. 53 is this big one here. And the reason I rank better than them is I use the term real estate. So I'm real estate specific. If I use general terms, they would rank better than me. But since it's real estate related, it's all going to come to me, which is what I want. That's for me what I want. And for you as a realtor, you just need to say, like for those of you who do two or three things, like I'm a mortgage agent, so I'm a real estate agent, I'm this, I'm that. Don't list all that on your profile. Just choose something you want to try to be ranking for, hopefully real estate agent or realtor, and add that into your Google My Business profile. So like an example would be Brett Wallace Realtor. All right. That's what you want your profile to say. You want it to be very, very specific. Why am I telling you these things? If somebody can't say these very basic things to you inside of a presentation about local SEO, they don't know what they're talking about and they're probably a scam. And unfortunately for most of you, the vast majority of people that you're going to talk to are probably not legitimate, which is why I'm making this video in the first place, is for you to understand that most of the time when you're speaking to people, you're not really going to be getting great advice. If they can't tell you as clearly as I just did what they're going to do or how they're going to do it, do not spend your money, okay? And if they give you something that's almost unintelligible in terms of like, oh, we'll do all this back end mechanics, and I've got this AI, and it just automatically searches all these company names and fixes all this stuff, don't believe them. Even the best companies that do this, like Local Easy, which this is all they do, by the way, Local Easy, and they're a good company, very good, but they don't have something that fixes all of your shit automatically. They got to go do it manually. And they got to change all your addresses and try to list them all correctly on the directories. And if you're curious about, like, if you're really into this particular part of SEO, you can go to Whitespark and for free download. They have a local citation finder, and this will show you where your citations are and how many different addresses there are. So if you're having problems in this category and you're trying to figure it out, this is your cheat right here, Whitespark. Okay, and they're a big company, and this is all they do is local. They're good. I use them to check citations, and we use them as an agency to try to fix people's profiles and stuff like that. So if you want to use them services, like I don't really have a lot of real estate clients, so I'm not really going to tell you I feel comfortable completely, totally like recommending them, but they're really clear about what they do. Yext is another service that basically just says, we're going to go out and fix your citations, and they're better at it than most people. So Yext is a valuable service, um, and and Whitespark is saying they'll do it better. I don't know. I don't know if they will or they won't. I can just merely say that in terms of being in this space, Whitespark is really one of the best, most well-known brands out there doing it. Okay, so that's local. So that's one kind of SEO is this local. All right. Another kind of SEO, search engine optimization. Remember, it's big, it's broad. You've got really a couple of other categories that I'm going to talk about inside of this video. I'm going to talk about images, and I'm going to talk about video, and then I'm going to talk about traditional search results. So you've got four categories that we're going to cover. All right. And why am I talking about these different things? Because everybody that's out there is going to be trying to tell you that they do this very well. And the truth is that very few people do it very well at all inside real estate. I also told you I'd talk about real estate websites. So before I get into, well, no, let's talk about images. All right. So the number two search engine in the world, everybody thinks it's YouTube. It is not. All right. The number two search engine in the world is images. Why does this matter? A certain type of search engine optimization is images. What do I mean by that? Okay. What do I mean? So let's just do South Tampa zip codes. okay, as a search, but I'm searching images. The number one hit here is one of my clients. What is this? It's an image that's on their website. So an SEO person or people could theoretically, and they may vaguely infer, hey, we're optimizing your images. All right, and I love it when SEO people say that. Image optimization is an important element of SEO, okay? First of all, though, you have to have a good image. So a good picture of a home or a good picture of a map, something like that, right? So there's a picture of a map. This is the search that's happening inside the image packs or inside Google. And then this, with this little picture, says, hey, we're number one, which I already showed you we are. And 1,900 people are searching it. So it's a big search. What does that mean, layman's terms? Well, an image can directly drive traffic to a website. Of course, it's going to drive traffic to the page that the image resides upon. All right. This is a very kind of deep strategy. Nobody, not real estate webmasters or Sierra Interactive or anybody that I know of, except for us inside the real estate space, is doing very much with image optimization. Traditionally, inside of SEO, what it's done is kind of used to send signals to Google inside of blog posts that say what the blog is supposed to be about. And we still use it for that. It's kind of, it's going to speak to a type of search engine optimization that is commonly referred to as semantic keyword recognition, which again is a lot of really complicated language. And you're like, holy cow, man, I thought you said this would be simple. So these are not very special images, and they're not going to rank inside image packs, except for this, the infographic, which we created. That will rank. All right. When you create an image, you can put some tags on it. Here's what those tags are really actually good for. And this is a conversational point. Guys are going to try to confuse you with language surrounding like image tags. Any good SEO person really knows that for the most part, unless you're spending way more money than the average realtor has for an SEO budget, even if you're hiring somebody like me, is images are used for semantic reasons. So semantic means words closely related to. Google will now apply tons and tons of keywords to a single like blog post. Like here we've got 992, and here we've got 330, and here we've got 412. So Google is saying we're considering ranking you for 992 keywords, which is a hell of a lot if you think about it. They're all coming in on the same blog post. Anything 1 through 10 is on the first page, right? So hundreds. So one post on a blog could yield lots of traffic for hundreds of related keywords, anything basically related to business names. So where do images play into that? Inside video editions or images like this, we're basically kind of saying this image is attached to this blog post and we're talking about real estate company names. And we've decided to use a profile picture of realtors, which is what this is. All right, it's just a real estate team. And we're probably going to title that image, What to Name Your Real Estate Team, right? Something like that. Even though these images are, except for this one, are taken off easily licensable like photo image galleries. So they're not unique images, but the tags, the semantic markers that we put in them are unique. Why is this important for you to understand? Because a lot of noise and thunder is made about images or having great images, but 90% of the guys that are talking to you about it don't understand what they're supposed to be for. And it's a warning sign. If somebody can't give you, like, if they say to you, oh, we're going to do image optimization, and you say, what is that? All right. And hopefully you've watched this video and you have a general, vague understanding of what it is. If they're not trying to tell you, well, it's just basically breadcrumbs that send extra signals in your blog post, about what that blog post is about, then you're probably not dealing with somebody who knows what they're talking about. That may or may not mean that their service is good, but for sure means that they themselves don't know what they're what they're speaking to. For me personally, as a vendor and as a consumer, I get very wary when the person I'm talking to knows less about the subject that we're talking about than me, especially since most times with SEO inside the real estate space, people are charging anywhere from $600 to $5,000 a month. That's basically the price range, maybe 500 to 5,000 a month. And so you could theoretically be talking to somebody that really is going to ask for a reasonable investment. You want to make sure at a minimum that they know what they're talking about. That's it. Okay, so that's why I'm giving you images. If they bring them up, you've gotten a little tutorial about what they actually mean, and how they could theoretically be relevant. Because good image optimization can and sometimes does mean that you are ranking for a lot of extra stuff. Now you can see in all of my posts here, the only one that's really seems to be this little thing is images. So I'm still doing really well for images inside real estate quotes. So it can actually directly drive traffic, even though the post that we were talking about is actually has dropped. It used to be ranking like #1 for real estate quotes. It's not anymore. It's like 4 or 5 years old. So it's an old post that I did. Um, Yet we still do well in the image pack. That's why I keep the quote. That's why I keep the blog post up. It's because we're still driving a few hundred people a month off this. So some of these, like you can see here, I am inbound REM. That's me. All right. And the funny thing is I get double the bang because do you see this where it says Pinterest? That's me too. You can see my logo right there. Even though it doesn't say anything about inbound REM, there I am. I'm all over the place for real estate quotes on images. A lot of these are mine. Okay. That you see here. This is mine. There's a lot of them. I dominate in the image packs for real estate quotes. That's why sometimes it's worth it for you to have the conversation or talk to people about images, but for the most part, it's not going to come up that much. So let's talk about traditional versus video. Okay, again, this is a cheat sheet. So there's also going to be a lot of guys that are talking to you about, and everything I'm talking about does fall under the category of SEO. Remember, this is not a conversation about how you do it. This is a conversation about how you have a conversation about it. So when somebody's saying to you, like, let's say you're talking to a video is really finally catching on. Lots of real estate agents are hearing video. So you can do a search like this, and many times when you start talking about living in, moving to, relocating to, amenities in. So Hamilton Mill is a golf course community in Atlanta, Georgia. And the reason I pulled up this particular result to show you is this is one of my clients. Okay, and this is a YouTube video that is not my client. I've been telling my client to do video. Why would I? We're already ranking, and we were ranking #1 for a long time. The only people that's ranking better than us is actually Hamilton Mill, the actual golf course community, and then we're right underneath it. So why, like, when people are talking to you, is this relevant? Well, you could theoretically, like, people are going to have, well, so people are going to do, like, different types of content are going to appeal to different people. All right. A traditional search result, which is what you're looking at, is awesome. But some people are going to want to take a look at the video. And this is just an aerial tour. And you can see that I've already looked at it. I already know what it is. You can see that I'm right. And it mentions the amenities. It was done in 2015, and somebody named Scott Lacey, and I think it has like 800 or 900 views. I wish that my client would have done the video, but they haven't. So when somebody's talking to you most of the time about SEO, this is actually what they're talking to you about. They're saying, I can rank you for a community, or I can rank you, our website's ranked for a community. Now, here's the part where I start to get super specific with all of you watching the video. There's 3, 4 real estate website providers that can consistently, if paid extra money rank their websites. And I will explain to you why. Those 4 vendors are Real Geeks, Sierra Interactive, Real Estate Webmasters, and us, which is Inbound REM. Okay? Those 4 companies can rank websites. We all do it different ways. Inbound REM ranks websites based on the value of the information that you find on the page, such as this extended amenities list, which is far more complete than anything you're going to find in Trulia or Zillow. All right, it's not going to be there. Problem with producing this list is that even as a provider, I didn't do this. I couldn't. You had to have boots on the ground and a client go out and get that information. Now I knew they needed it and told them to go out and get it, and that's where that SEO knowledge, that person that you're speaking to, if you're a real estate agent or broker, whoever you're talking to needs to be, unfortunately, a niche specialist. They have to specialize in real estate first and foremost. You can get away still with Sierra Interactive websites where you do like broad searches. Took me a moment to remember one of these, sorry. You can do something like Panama City's condos for sale. Now here you see Chad Miller, who is also a previous client of mine, which is how I know the site. So you click on the site, and he's taken his sites down. But the search result is still here, oddly enough. But what this was about 150 words on top of a search results page for a website. All right, that's what this used to be. Okay, so that's too bad for him. That's too bad. Let's look at this. This is a real estate webmaster site. So both these like 8 and 9, and I didn't know this. I did not have this prepared. I can just tell visually. I've just been doing this for long enough. I already know, and I'll prove it to all of you who's watching the video, but I already know what it is. Real estate webmasters, bang, right down there at the bottom, just like I said. The reason that these sites, so this is the 100 words that I mentioned. Okay, there's not really any value here. There's no amenities list. There's nothing going on. Why then does it still rank? Well, certain websites such as Sierra Interactive or Real Estate Webmasters make user experiences that are good enough, because that's what Google is looking at. So if you want to know what people should be having conversations with you about, and they do in weird ways, like Real Estate Webmaster salespeople and Sierra Interactive web people will really hammer on the point of their sites being ADA compliant and the fact that they're fast. These are very small SEO signals, very small. You don't have to be super fast to rank in Google. It's helpful, but what the most helpful thing is, what really gets them the rank, used to be that Google couldn't understand what's on the page. So all these communities and things like that, and the properties being here, that was big for Google. That used to be the way it was. Now Google needs far less signals. They really have gotten much smarter about understanding what you expect to find on the page. So the main signal that Google is looking for is, does somebody find the page useful? In other words, do they click on it? Do they stay on the site? Do they move around other pages? The two kinds of websites that still maintain a very high user engagement that are search-based, number 1 and number 2 is Real Estate Webmasters is still barely number 1. Sierra Interactive is right behind them, and Real Geeks a distant third. And they're all relying on this, what you're looking at. Search stuff that's kind of intuitive inside like a specific set of buildings or areas, and then you see all these other condos listed. It's convenient. It is convenient, and it's better than Trulia and Zillow, as long as you did a search that came into the site that was related to a specific area. I'm really going into a little bit of detail on this because you don't want your salespeople from these companies kind of declaring that they're maestros of SEO and that things will be grand if you just buy one of their websites. Why am I saying all that? Well, unfortunately for them and everybody else in the SEO world, that these sites and most sites like them have become commoditized. And if you own one of these sites, you already know what I'm talking about. Why do I say that? Your lead quality has dropped. Your lead quantity has dropped. You already know this. For those of you thinking about buying these sites or having a conversation with somebody about them, you need to understand that the value you're offering is convenient search. That is unfortunately not as important as it once was. I'm not saying that there wasn't a time that these sites didn't work brilliantly. They did. These days, those metrics are less important, and you're not going to get as high quality a lead as you once were. Okay, it's just a fact. So, in terms of somebody having conversations with you about SEO, you're going to wait a year or two. And if all you're doing is adding very small elements to the page, which by the way, that's mostly what Real Estate Webmasters does. That's mostly what like a lot of SEO providers do. What they're going to do is they're going to take your Sierra Interactive site, your Real Estate Webmaster site, or your Real Geek site, and they're going to add 200 words on here and say, done, we've finished our SEO. Which leads me to the last part of, even if you find one of these good providers, what are some of the other signals that Google looks at? And I'm going to try to make it very conversational for you. So the other things that Google looks at in terms of signals besides user behavior, which is a huge one, it's 30 to 40%. So speed could be a factor because it leads to higher usability. Maybe it's 5 to 7% of what Google is looking at, but mostly what they're looking at, honestly, is they're throwing everything into a user experience box and they're saying, how long do people stay on the site? How often do they come back to it? How often do they click on your search results inside the search engines? And how long do they stay? Really? Okay, so they're tracking all of that. And the reason that SEO takes so long is that it takes them a while to measure those signals versus all other sites in that category. So SEO moves very slowly, which leads me to one comment on the cheat sheet. Anybody that's telling you that you're going to get rapid movement faster than a year or two, again, doesn't know what they're talking about. It's just not possible. It's not that you can't get ranked for anything fast, you can. But there are tricks and hacks that you need to know in order to achieve that. And every guy in my business declares that they know what those are. The hacks that work with me are related to video and YouTube, connecting those two things. And then in some cases, when I've launched a site, we've gotten them onto the first page in 30 or 60 days. But never, ever for highly critical, super competitive searches like building names, Panama City condos. These are all high value keywords. And you're not going to see somebody just instantly jump onto the first page, no matter what you do. That's one of those things you have to look for inside of a conversation with somebody about SEO. Time to results. An honest provider is going to say it takes a while because it does. And that's averaged over all consumers. So, and the more competitive your market, the more websites there are, and you should know that intuitively. Like, are you in Tampa? Are you in Charleston? Are you in, these super hot like luxury markets where everybody's moving to, Austin? Um, it's going to take a bit of time. So the other things that people could do or should be doing for SEO are page structure things, which you're seeing really clearly here. Everybody kind of in the real estate business understands, oh, it's keywords, keywords, keywords. You know what? This stuff is not as important as it once was. You need one strong title, and you don't need all these other things the same way that you used to. All right. So anybody hammering home that you need a ton of links on a single page is actually talking about tactics that were 3 or 4 years, maybe 5 years old. And here's why. Here's the number one reason. These don't work so well on a mobile phone. 50% of web traffic to most real estate sites is at least minimum is mobile phone. And if you're doing any advertising such as on Facebook or Google, and most of you are if you're using these sites, you are 80% is mobile. So these sites don't work with all those links. Real difficult to click on with your thumb. Just go ahead and use some of these sites and you'll see what I mean. All right, not easy. And so the Google and other like that as a service, Google is starting to really move everybody in the direction of, are you thinking mobile first? And if somebody's not having that conversation with you and directly attaching it to the conversation of SEO, they're not doing you a service. Like they either don't know what they're talking about or they're trying to sell you something that's outdated. And even if you did buy it and it did work, 2 or 3 years from now, you are probably going to watch your results slowly decline. The only company besides us who seems to be out in front of that is Real Estate Webmasters. Their newer designs, this is one of their older ones, their newer ones are much simpler and much more focused on cell phone experience. Um, and so I got to say that their Renaissance platform is seemingly, and I don't definitively know this, but it seems to be kind of aimed at the mobile market. Our platforms are aimed at the mobile market because if you want to give somebody that's going to last for 3 or 4 years right now, it's got to be mobile focused. 5G is right around the corner. It just has to be. Anybody buying anything like this or letting anybody design something like for them like this, it's just going to have to be turning around and doing a major revamp in 2 years from now. And since SEO does tend to be pricey, and SEO websites historically look like this because it was the only way that real estate webmasters could get people to stay on the site and use it for long enough is giving all this detail, these links and communities and blah, blah, blah. There's other ways now, by the way. You can do it with content and video and get people to hang on the site using the value of your information, which is what we do. So really, when you're trying to get into a traditional search result, just to kind of circle back around, and you're talking about real estate SEO, everybody's always asking me why I'm so certain about my recommendations. Like, it's just I have access to these analytics accounts. You can see it yourself. A great example of what I'm talking about, I've been using the same Real Geeks website as an example for people for years because there's one Real Geek site where a woman has done an excellent job on SEO. All right, Franklin, Tennessee Homes for Sale. Her name is Tammy. And her site is great. It's magnificent. It has a lot of the features that you'd see on all these sites that we've looked at, links and all this different stuff, right? But when you look at her traffic, and she's continued to add to the site and try to make it more valuable for users and basically do all the things that you're supposed to do for SEO. This is what the site looks like. It's similar to some of these other sites in the sense that it has all these great searchable links. So you can find any community that you want in Franklin. Literally every neighborhood and building is on the site, as far as I know. But when we look at their organic traffic over the last 2-3 years, you'll notice that there's been a slow but gradual decline. Okay, so going back to 2018 versus today, it's been about a 40% drop. It's pretty simple. Google is just going mobile and looking for different usability signals, which the site is no longer sending. I'm sure Tammy's tearing her hair out trying to figure out what's going wrong. And the answer isn't she's done anything wrong. It's simply it's just simply like she's just somebody's been kind of focused on the wrong things. So this is why I'm trying to give you guys the tools. If you want to use some of these sites for SEO, you can. You absolutely can. What you would need to do if you use, let's say, Sierra Interactive, you could do, this is just the most popular Sierra Interactive site in the country. You're looking at it, all right? Ruby Home probably gets 60, 70,000 people to the site every single month. All right, how do they do it? Well, they are the exception that proves the rule. They are just doing really deep content on the blog. So this is the site, this is their traffic. So somebody could tell you from Sierra Interactive on the sales team that they have some of the most popular websites on their platform, and they wouldn't be misrepresenting to you. It would be true. But you can see here that literally 30 to 40% of the traffic on the site is one blog post. This is the blog post. You'll notice there are no links, or actually that's not true. There's neighborhood links over here on the side. But this blog post incorporates images, video, and it's 4,000 or 5,000 words long, 6,000 words, graphs, charts. It's a perfect example of a massive SEO blog. I'm sure all the images are tagged the right way. So it's theoretically possible. But the Sierra Interactive doesn't have the best content management system. What they do have is a very fast site, and they do have stuff like this. So they can send the right signals, and if somebody was determined enough and knew technology well enough, they could actually leverage their platform and really make a home run of it. So when you're thinking about purchasing these services and people are talking to you about their successes, one of those questions that you need to ask. So how am I wrapping all this up? How am I comparing this into an SEO cheat sheet? Here's the questions you need to ask these providers. Okay, should you call them? Should you be hunting for SEO? It is how long to results? How much did those clients have to invest in those results? In the example of Ruby Home, Sierra Interactive didn't do any of this. Okay, they didn't produce these blog posts. They didn't do any of this. So if somebody does point out an example to you about a site that's doing really well, ask them who did the work on the site. And if they say it was a blend between us and the client, say what was the blend? How much work did the client do? Because this site is 90% Tony and 10% nobody else. He did all the work. I'm sorry. That's what I'm saying. So the objective here, and I may have drifted off the subject matter because I was talking a little bit about technical signals, is conversationally, some of the things you need to know about SEO is the stuff that goes on behind the scenes. Here's the big categories. You've got votes, you've got technical signals and page structure, all right? Now, you can see on most of the sites I've showed you, I hope, similarities in structure. Everything with nice headers, clean images, stuff like that. Not hard, really isn't anymore to do those things correctly. So if somebody can't even point to a blog post that looks nice with good headers, like that you can easily tell are trying to target some kind of keyword, oh God, get off the phone with them so fast. The other things, and this is where you have to be really cautious, and it's the hardest thing to explain correctly. The last little bit of SEO is something called votes, or backlinks is what people like to call them. It's how many people, what a backlink is somebody has taken your website address and listed it on their website. Like this, the balance. Okay? This is the top vote coming in for this site. Right? Is coming in from the balance. This is a mortgage site. So the best votes are coming in from related websites, and Google has a scoring system that it keeps on all websites. Scoring system, roughly speaking, is a score from 0 to 100. Let's just pretend that that's really the way it works. They don't really tell you exactly the way it works, but a lot of these tools, like the one I'm using, do break it out into scores. So let's just say it's 0 to 100. All right? So you get a link somewhere in here directed to your website, and that's a vote for you. So the best votes are votes that are related to your industry, which mortgage is. They have a high website score themselves, which it does, and then believe it or not, Google even scores pages. So they score the whole website. They kind of give you an overall quality score for your site, and then they give you a page score. And then whatever page your vote comes off of, that is kind of how they equate the value of that vote. So you can have hundreds of votes like this blog post does coming in, and they're doing a lot of Follow Up Bosses link to this site, Knowing Wall, Pez Luxury Homes. So you have other realtors linking to this site. You have mortgage sites linking to the site. So this is why this blog post ranks #1 for everything. It has a lot of votes coming in from really credible places, which it got because it created this amazing piece of content. But SEO guys like me can manually reach out to people that own these websites and try to get them to vote for your website. There's very, very, very few. I don't even know that at their top tier that Real Estate Webmasters is actually doing this kind of outreach. Maybe they are, but you're going to be paying $5,000 a month. And I don't think that Sierra Interactive is doing it at all. Why? Tony did most of this himself. Why am I pointing that out? If somebody starts talking to you about backlinks or votes or something like that, it's one of those things where it's going to be very hard for you as a realtor to measure what somebody is doing. You have to say, where are you getting these votes from and how high is the quality, even though I know that you probably don't understand what that is. Just think of it as votes. If they don't give you a good answer that makes you feel good, because the best answer is websites that I manually reached out to that are related to real estate, and they'll link to you. The other possible answer, which is also good, not quite as good, but is good, is where they actively blog for you in real estate related places and link back to your site, which is part of what we do here. We literally blog on Active Rain and we link back to our client sites. Okay. If you don't get an understandable answer or somebody's talking to you about we're getting you 10,000 links from 10,000 places, run, son, run. Do not walk, run away from that person. All right. Link these votes. What Google is looking for these days is two things. They're looking for what you're looking at. High quality votes come in from real estate related sites, and they're looking, does that site have traffic? This Active Rain gets like 237,000 people to it, so it's highly authoritative in Google's eyes. And are real live human beings leaving comments on these posts? There's not one here, but there are many that we've done. And last but not least, is there any traffic coming on off that page to your page? That's like the creme de la creme for a vote, is if there's another post that is also good and it has a link back to you. Basically, you'd only need one or two of these in order to rank even for highly, highly competitive keywords. So getting votes is one of those things, like when people like talk to you about SEO, this is still 30 to 40% of your score is this vote getting thing. And the last bit of your score is how you build the site and are you optimizing images. It's too complicated to try to use for an SEO cheat sheet video. But ultimately you could focus on all of those things and still not rank. The things I'm talking to you about, if you just focused on these two pieces of the conversation, like, does somebody seem to understand what votes are and where they're going to get them for you or how they're going to build them? And if the answer is they're not giving you an answer that you understand, run away, even if it's Real Estate Webmasters or Sierra Interactive. And then the other part of it, and if it's anybody else, like you're hiring an outside vendor to do SEO on your Real Estate Webmaster site or on your Sierra Interactive site, which is a viable thing to do, you just want to make sure that they're having credible conversations with you about stuff like building votes and creating some kind of engaging page. Because if all they're going to do is write 300 or 400 words on top of the page, even if they rank you, you're not going to get great leads. So that's my SEO cheat sheet video. Probably more needs to be done, or I'm going to amend it or recreate it a little bit later. I just wanted to get something out there and talk about SEO in 2021 and for real estate specifically, and try to give you a couple talking points that make all of those people that ask me these questions, give them something to chew on, a little bit of information so that they can take these to their vendors that they're considering, or all the countless calls that they're getting or the emails they're getting, and with a sigh of relief, either discard them or say, oh, that person seems to be talking at least vaguely like that guy Robert was talking, and maybe they know what they talk about. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. I hope you found the video useful. Do me a favor, give it a thumbs up or subscribe to my channel if you appreciated the content. I do lots of stuff like this, and I don't think anybody else is. All right, ciao.